Hi, I'm Sharon Knight. Welcome to Building Community Check-In. I'm President and CEO of Hope Communities, and we are a nonprofit that has been providing housing and educational programs and support services for 40 years now. We started these shows because we knew that once people went into quarantine, they were really going to feel isolated, that they wouldn't necessarily know where to get reliable information, and they might need resources. So we wanted to let everyone know that we are there for them, and we do this show regularly to provide you information on best practices and new regulations related to COVID, provide updates on resources available to you, share some inspirational stories, and also provide some activities to enhance your health and well-being. And oftentimes I bring in a guest to help me with the show, and I will be introducing our guest in just a few minutes. This show I'm calling Let's Make Sure Everyone Gets Counted. And I'm going to introduce Nadine in just a bit so she can help me with that. We are posting these videos on our Facebook page after we have the live show because we know a lot of people watch them at a different time. So if you hear anything today that you think would be beneficial to someone else, please share the link with them. And also understand that we have a website with lots of resources on it that is at hopecommunities.org. And you can also email us, or your colleagues can email us at info@hopecommunities.org with questions, with requests for assistance, or requests for resources. We'd be really happy to help. I'd like to provide some news. One thing I want to remind people is that the governor did order bars and clubs to have last call at 10 o'clock. That is because after tracing, we know that one of the reasons the virus has been spreading is tied to young people partying. So just too many people in a room, and hospitalizations for people over 10 and under 30 has more than doubled in recent weeks. So that's one attempt to try to curb that. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment reported that Chick-fil-A restaurants have more outbreaks of COVID-19 than any other fast food restaurant. So there's been outbreaks in Arvada, Aurora, Brighton, Fort Collins, Federal Heights, and Littleton. I'm not sure why they do, but I just wanted to report to you so that you knew that there's been some issues there. The Colorado legislature has also allocated almost $20 million in funding through the Federal CARES Act to help residents with emergency rental assistance. So that is going for emergency rent, but also mortgages. And the Department of Housing and Local Affairs both have been helping with these programs, and Hope Communities has applied to receive rent funds on behalf of tenants. So if residents of any of our properties are having trouble paying rent due to COVID-19, please let the property staff know, and we can help you to apply for some of that rent money. Want to remind people the Aurora Public School District just announced that they will not have in-person classes until October. They are still going to start remotely on the 24th, but not having any in-person classes at this time, and things have been changing until October. The Denver Public Schools still have not changed their plans to have remote instruction during the first 2 weeks of the academic year, which was started at August 24th. We'll see if that persists, but at this point and as of this morning, that was the case. So if you are trying to figure out where to put your kids and if they're going to go to school or not, I want to let you know that the state education officials have made 5 main goals to help with guidance. First of all, they want to maximize the in-person learning environment, but it has to be in a safe and a healthy way. They want to ensure that there's safety for the students and also the staff if you have that kind of learning. So they're going to be working on that. They want to minimize disruption to education by having cohorts of students that will stay together throughout the whole day. Those are smaller groups of kids that won't change classes and teachers. The kids will all stay together. And then they want to ensure that there's equity in educational opportunities, so that is across all communities. And so look for that. And then they want, and they will have to, encourage flexibility and adaptation. So there's lots of things that they're trying to do. You as parents will have to figure out if what the schools are doing is adequate enough for you, or whether you want to try remote learning. I know it's going to be a challenge for everyone to pick the right way, but those are some of the things to look for. Also, just heard that the FDA has identified some hand sanitizers out there that are not safe. They've posted a list of products that are not safe on their website, and we will put that link on our Facebook page so that you can make sure that any of the sanitizers that you got are not those that have been identified as unsafe. The ones that they highlighted were manufactured in Mexico, and there are some stores locally, Targets and Walmarts, that have provided those products to the public. So watch out for that. We're also going to post a YouTube video that talks about these hand sanitizers. So, I like to have a couple of inspirational quotes. And the first one that I am going to offer to you is this: you write in order to change the world, knowing perfectly well that you probably can't, but also knowing that literature is indispensable to the world. The world changes according to the way people see it. And if you alter even a millimeter the way that people look at reality, you can change it. That's by James Baldwin, and it was a quote given to me by my son. I love the quote, and I know it's focusing from a writing perspective, but I personally think that raising your voice, sharing your perspective, and voting for what you think is right also shapes the way that people, and particularly decision makers, see the world. Your voice matters, and that's what we'll be talking about today. I'm going to share one more quote by Barack Obama. Our public life withers when only the most extreme voices get attention. Most of all, democracy breaks down when the average person feels their voice doesn't matter, that the system is rigged in favor of the rich or the powerful or some narrow interest. And again, I think it's so important, and I am so happy to have our guest here, Nadine Ibrahim. She is with the U.S. Census Bureau. She's a partnership specialist. Nadine's specific duties include reaching out to immigrants, refugees, and faith communities in the metro area, and she's been really active with the Denver Immigrant and Refugee Commission. She's also been a great partner of Hope Communities, and we're so excited to have you here. And
thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
You're welcome, and I love the poster.
Yes, I think it's a great compliment with Hope Communities right there.
It is, and we also have actually face masks
yes.
that say the Census and Hope Communities on there. We're a big proponent of everybody's voice being heard.
Certainly, as I am.
So I know that you have the really kind of an interesting connection to the census, and I wonder if you would tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you all for having me on the show, and Hope Communities is definitely a great partner for the U.S. Census Bureau in helping us support a complete and accurate count. So thank you for your continued partnership around that.
You're welcome.
So my story with the census actually kind of starts back in 2010. My family is actually from a small rural community out in northeastern Colorado. And so when you put rural community, immigrant background, Muslim identity, and family of color, like that speaks to a lot of the hard to count communities when we consider people whom are historically undercounted in the census because of fears that they might have or the inability to access it. And so in 2010, I, as the oldest child in my immigrant family, had to make the decision on whether or not we want to participate in the census. And so the way that it goes is that ultimately I kept throwing away the mailings that people were kept sending us because I thought it was some sort of scam asking us for information.
Sure.
And it wasn't until a census taker managed to find my parents' business and was like, hey, you all haven't been counted at your address, and actually explained it to me, that I was like, wow, we need to get counted. And so now fast forward 10 years later for the next decennial survey, and I am here working as a partnership specialist. So I use that experience as a reason for what inspired me to do this, but even more so sharing the identities that I have with other marginalized communities as a means to ensure that everyone is counted.
Right, and to help them understand that it's not a scam.
Even
though they're asking for all kinds of information or some information that you might think would be a scam.
Well, it's really easy. It's a quick 9 questions, takes 10 minutes to do it. And, it's easy, safe, and important. That's the motto that we use around the 2020 census. And so really look forward to kind of sharing that here today with you all.
Great. I know we talked about this one other time, but could you please give us like a little background of why do we do a census?
Yeah.
Why is it important? And talk to our audience about that.
Yeah, for sure. So a great thing to know about the census is that it's within the U.S. Constitution. We are mandated by the U.S. Constitution to carry out a count of how many people live in the U.S. every 10 years. And so since 1790, we have been carrying out a census every 10 years.
It was that long, actually.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we aim to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. And making sure that everyone is counted, it ensures that we have a fair and accurate count. And counting everyone in the right place actually speaks to how impactful the census is to respective communities.
So how is it impactful?
Yeah, so really two ways that I would like to talk about it is when we think about political power and when we think about federal funding distribution. So the seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, those are apportioned based on census numbers, and that count happens every 10 years. The other thing is we provide, the U.S. Census Bureau provides the redistricting data that then states use their own metrics in order to carry out redistricting. So when we talk about voting power and voting precincts and things of that sort, that all comes back to census data. And the census data is provided that then leads to that sense of legislative districting.
And the fact that Denver has grown so much in the last 10 years could really be meaningful.
Right, certainly. I mean, as a state in general. So when we take a look at demographic shifts and things like that, some states will probably gain some seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, and other states might lose them because there's been a shift in population, which speaks back to the importance of making sure you're counted in the right place. You talked about schools today. You talked about affordable housing. Those types of programs that are made available to the public when we talk about the roads, when we talk about the impact COVID has in our community, it underscores the value of having a complete and accurate count for the census. There was a great study that was done by George Washington University that showed that Colorado in particular receives about $13 billion of a pot of more than $600 billion of annual federal funding. And some of those programs go to benefiting our school systems. They go to our neighborhoods. They go to the hospitals, and they go to emergency services. And not only that, when we think about public health planning and things of that sort, census data really provides that type of information on how is demographics really shifting over time.
Yeah, so it's really important.
Super important, yes. And the value is it's super important, but it's really easy and it's a quick 10 minutes. So 10 minutes shapes our collective future for the next 10 years. Awesome. I've done mine too. I was so excited as someone who works for the U.S. Census Bureau. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got mine in the mail. Let's go count it.
Okay, so is there any reason why people should not do it?
So we aim to count everyone residing in the United States, right? And people should count themselves where they were living as part of April 1st. That's known as the National Census Day. So if you were in the United States, residing here on April 1st, then you should count yourself within the census. You should be counted as a part of that, and you're part of the complete and accurate count that we're aiming for.
Okay. What if you were like you were when you were younger and you threw them away when you got them in the mail? How can somebody still complete the census?
Well, the really good thing about the census, once again, that it's easy. So you can easily complete it online, by mail, or by phone, and pretty soon, if you haven't completed any of those three ways, you might have a census taker knocking on your door. But we want to try and get as many of you as possible to complete it ahead of time by phone, online, or by mail. So if you go to 2020census.gov, that's 2020census.gov.
And we will post that on our Facebook
page.
Awesome.
You can quickly go to the Respond Now button there, and you can go ahead and complete it online. The great thing about that is it's available in English and 12 non-English languages. So you simply click on the tab that you want to complete it in, and it automatically translates it to that language. If you find the internet not as accessible for you or kind of difficult to navigate, you can also go to 2020census.gov and then click on Contact Us Now, and over there it has each of the individual numbers for English and the 12 non-English languages.
Oh, so you could call it in?
Yeah, you can totally call it in. And then the other thing is, say that you speak another language and it's not within the 12 non-English languages that are spoken. We have 59 language guides that are available. And so once again, at 2020census.gov, You can pick a guide either in print or in or on short video form that will literally tell you in that respective language how to complete it
Oh,
online.
that's awesome. And
or
I
better.
know, I mean, we have navigators that can help interpret for people, but I know, and I think it's important to say, that interpreters cannot fill it out for you. You have to
Yes.
fill it out
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah, one of the really great things that we pride ourselves at the U.S. Census Bureau is the level that we take privacy and confidentiality. And so Title 13 mandates that the U.S. Constitution protect all information that's coming in. That means that once it comes into the U.S. Census Bureau, you can accept it as it's in a lock vault. So it cannot be shared with any other federal agencies, and it cannot be shared out with the public unless it's in de-aggregated statistical form. So that way nobody can get identified in any
No
capacity.
private information.
Yes, exactly. So no private information is released in any capacity. So when you complete it yourself, you're guaranteeing that the information that you're sharing into that respective census document is automatically confidential and protected within that guise. Now, if somebody else is completing it for you, there's nothing to say that they won't take your private information and perhaps share it with someone else. But if you complete it with the Census Bureau like myself, the consequences are pretty dire if we ever release any type of information. You're looking at federal prison time and a $250,000 fine.
Oh, wow.
So definitely the
Quite
stakes
a
are
disincentive.
yes, and and so we all make a lifetime oath to protect the data that we come in contact with.
Okay, awesome. There's been, I've heard some scuttlebutt in the community that maybe people who are not citizens should not fill out the form, but it sounds like that's definitely not true.
Yeah, and so once again, at the U.S. Census Bureau, our goal and our mission is to count everyone residing in the U.S.
Yeah.
only once in the right place, and so that includes individuals of all citizenship backgrounds.
Okay, yeah, now you have been participating in our Tent Talk activities.
Yeah.
And you're going to be coming back tomorrow, right?
Yes, I'm so excited, and thank you for having us.
So this tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll have different events. We have separate tents set up throughout a big community garden, and we have community partners there, and you'll be there. So if people have questions, they could come to you, right?
Yeah, if you have any questions, please stop by our tent. We also have some cool swag materials if you're looking for some lanyards or some census-themed hand sanitizers, anything to appeal to people. The other great thing too is that one of our Census Bureau employees will be on site with a tablet, and so if people kind of want to talk to someone in person to complete it and don't find the internet or phone or mail option available, they can speak to someone right then and there to complete their census. And so last week when we were there, we nearly signed up 10 households.
That's awesome.
And so, this partnership is great, and it's really awesome because the community that we're working in actually is kind of on the lower end of response rates. So this has been an opportunity for us to kind of employ a mobile questionnaire assistance where we can have Census Bureau employees ready to be in person and helping people to complete it.
People who are dedicated to keep the information
Yes.
confidential.
Yes.
And they can fill it out. We also will have, there are some laptops there, so if people just don't have access to the internet or a computer, and they don't necessarily need a census worker to help them, they can still fill it out there. So,
Yeah, certainly.
okay.
That's the cool thing about the census. It's really easy. It's just a matter of taking those 10 minutes, sitting down, and filling out those quick 9 questions.
Gosh. What are the questions that they're going to ask you?
Yeah, so the questions that it asks you how many people are residing within your household. What is the infrastructure that you're residing in? Is it a home? Is it apartment? And whether or not you own it or it's rented. And then it asks you to identify each person by name, by date of birth, by age, by race and ethnicity, and then by relationship to each other. And so, the really neat thing about the race and ethnicity part is that, this is one of the first times that you can actually write in your ethnicity underneath the racial aspect of it. And so a lot of communities have used this, based on my experience, have used this as an opportunity to say like, hey, we're here, in terms of like our ethnic identities being recognized now.
Yeah. So it's not to pinpoint and to have any retribution towards any races, which I know some people get a little worried about, but it's really to help every voice and every person be recognized for who they are.
Certainly. And the way I like to look at the census, it's a snapshot of what is our United States, right? So when we think about the United States of America, if you wanted to just take a quick snapshot of like, what does it look like in terms of age? What does it look like in terms of racial and ethnic demographics? Like the census provides that information because everyone gets counted. And that's the hope and that's the aim. And partners like yourself have made that really possible because you all are trusted voices on the ground. So you all are key messengers in your community. And that's one thing I wanted to share with viewers is if you already completed the census, awesome, empowered to you on getting counted. But really take the opportunity and see like whether or not you might be part of spaces and circles where people are not as inclined to complete it. And see what it is that you can say to them as someone that they trust to help them complete the census. Because honestly, it's going to take a collective village for all of us to ensure that everyone is counted.
Yeah, I actually love your commercials.
Awesome.
I love the commercials about so-and-so is staying overnight. He can't be counted.
Yeah.
The dog cannot be counted.
Right.
But my cousin who lives with us all the time
Right.
can be counted.
Yeah.
So
It's awesome. And we actually have so if you're ever wanting some time to look at these ads that you're sharing here with us, we have an entire YouTube channel dedicated to census ads and stuff. So feel free to join us there.
Great. So you won't necessarily have interpreters there, but we will have interpreters, at least with Burmese and I think Arabic and Somali tomorrow.
Right, and I do speak Arabic, so if anybody comes in speaking Arabic, I can help with that aspect as a Census Bureau employee. We will also have the person who's coming from the Census Bureau with the actual tablet is going to be bringing some language guides with them as well, so that way people can access it that way. And we can quickly pull up the go to 2020census.gov and pick any of the other languages. Quickly click on it to find the video guide if someone needs it.
Oh,
So
great.
we are preparing for the need to bridge any language barriers people might experience.
Great. And while this is occurring tomorrow at Hidden Brook, which is 1313 Xenia Street in Denver, and that is a property of Hope Communities, we do allow people from the general community to come in to access our partners and also to get help and resources. We're actually going to have food tomorrow.
Awesome.
Fresh
I love food.
Fruit and vegetables for distribution. So hopefully people will come and get access to some of those resources and to cool people like Nadine.
Yes, please do. I would love to have you all come visit me tomorrow.
Do you have any other last minute things about the census that you'd like to say before we end up?
I think the one thing that I want to share, which is the key, two key parts, is that the 2020 census is easy, safe, and important, and it's never been easier to complete it online, by phone, or by mail. And please do visit 2020census.gov to get more information or to respond today.
And I know we want to do this as soon as possible, but what's the absolute deadline?
Yeah, so you can start, so in a lot of Denver and Aurora communities, there's going to be census takers coming out as early as July 30th, knocking on doors for people who have not completed the census.
Okay, so that's Thursday.
Yeah, literally, it's right around the corner, but
Yeah.
you can easily complete, but the most important thing is even as you start seeing census takers come into the community, you can still complete it on your own prior to them coming to knock on your door. August 11th is the national date where you'll see census takers everywhere throughout the United States.
Okay.
And then the absolute end date, which was shifted because of social distancing requirements, is October 31st.
Oh, Halloween.
Yes, Halloween. It was not strategically picked that day, but that's the date.
Easy to remember.
So October 31st is the last day for self-response for the 2020 census. But I hope that our conversation today compelled all of you to really do it the second we finish this conversation.
And it really is easy. I mean, I did it in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I was actually kind of disappointed how quick it was. Like for my family, for my household, it was like me and my roommate and it took 30 seconds. And I was like, man, I've been looking so forward to this and it just took us like 30 seconds to do this. Okay.
Yeah. So, a little longer than a big family, but still. It's
Yeah,
pretty
for
easy.
sure.
So
Exactly.
thank you so much again for
Yeah,
coming.
thank
This
you for
is
having me.
wonderful. So as part of every Facebook Live event, we also have a book review. And we've been doing that again because a lot of people are isolated and they're in their homes. They're not going out in public. A lot of the stores are not freely open, and the libraries, while they have curbside delivery, they're not open for purview either. We do try to find books to review that can be downloadable from the library because we don't want people to have to incur expense to read a great book. But hopefully you will you get some ideas from us as we post these with each of our Facebook shows. And if you want to do a book review, please email us at info@hopecommunities.org. If you want to do one, we would love to have that.
Yes.
So the book that we are reviewing today is actually one that I did. I reviewed a book called The State of Wonder by Ann Patchett. I really like her as an author. I've read a lot of her books. I like her language. It's really intricate. It kind of deep dives into personal thought and so forth. And this book offers suspense and mystery and adventure. The main character in this is Marina Singh, and she is sent into the Amazon rainforest to uncover details around a mysterious death of her work associate, Dr. Anders Ekman. And so it's kind of embroiled in drama and intrigue and related to research for a secret miracle drug. So it's really, really interesting. You get to dive into the local cultures, learn about indigenous tribes and all these different things. So it's a fun book to read. It is downloadable from the Denver Public Library, and we will post that link on Facebook and then also later with the book review. You also can get it at curbside, and it also comes in a CD if you just want to listen to the book rather than read it. So that's it for our show today. We will be back on Tuesday when we will have Virginia Vassar from the Denver Public Library, our partner in crime with these book reviews. And she's going to talk about library programs and specifically the Plaza program, which we work with quite a bit at Hope Communities. So please be well, make smart choices, watch out for that hand sanitizer. We want you to be healthy and to be happy moving forward. Reach out if you need any assistance or if you have questions. Email us at info@hopecommunities.org or check on our website, hopecommunities.org, about us and then our team, and you can see the contact information for all of our navigators and staff. If you want to reach out to us, we'll be happy to help you. So good luck, have a great week. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me. Be well and be safe, everyone.
Yes, and we will see you soon.